to Top of the Mind with Molly Jones. In today's program, we will be discussing the ethics of having Native American-related mascots for sports teams. In the past few years, we have seen a rising opposition to the use of Native American-related mascots by high school, collegiate, and professional sports teams. Several civil rights groups have expressed that they feel that both the names and logos are offensive. Many proponents of both sides have emerged to argue the ethics of Native American references in sports culture, sparking debates across the country. Today, Penny Lane, a board member of the NAACP, and Jade Maroon, a sports columnist from the Wall Street Journal, are here with us to shed some light on both sides of the controversy. Welcome, both of you.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to be here.
To introduce your views, could both of you briefly explain where you stand in this debate?
As a representative of the NAACP, I believe that Native American-related mascots and names should not be used by teams because they are offensive and disrespectful towards Native Americans of the past and the present.
As a writer for the Wall Street Journal, I see how the names could be considered offensive. But since the names are already a part of the American culture, then we should not change them. Changing the names of football teams will not solve the problem of racism.
So, Ms. Maroon, you believe that we should preserve our culture over the Native American culture?
I wouldn't say that we are preserving our culture over the Native Americans' culture. Having Redskins as the name of a football team is not preserving the Native Americans' culture anyway. There is no reason to change the names now. The names of our football teams and their logos have become part of our culture and our society's history. We aren't harming the Native Americans by keeping what is already in existence.
Then what do you have to say about the destruction of the Native American culture?
I don't feel that that's relevant to the issue at hand.
So you think that we should ignore what Americans did to the Native American tribes?
Of course we should not ignore our history, but we cannot spend the rest of eternity always trying to be careful of offending racial groups because of actions committed years ago. Those in question were 200 years ago. The most effective way to finally erase all racism and prejudice from our society is to start over and stop focusing on the history of racial groups. Only when we think of Native Americans and do not immediately think of their culture's downfall will everyone finally be able to live comfortably with one another. In order for there to be equality of races, we cannot always focus on the differences that can be considered racist, but we must instead look for similarities that we all share.
Ms. Lane, do you have anything to say about this?
The history between Native American tribes in the U.S. is a long, painful, and often overlooked tragedy. After being forced onto Indian reservations, they were forced to assimilate into American culture, while those who fought back were massacred. Their culture was lost amid the rubble of their lives. Ms. Maroon claims that we can't always be careful of offending racial groups because of actions committed years ago. History has a say in the issue of how we address different races. However, even if the history between the U.S. and Native American tribes did not exist, we would still have to be careful of not offending the tribes. Our care in not offending them should not be because of the history and relationship between us, but instead because of respect.
Couldn't the names be considered symbols of honor and bravery?
I suppose some of the names, like the Braves, could refer to the warrior side of Native American culture, which suggests that the team is honorable and courageous, but these names do not cover all of the aspects of Native American culture. Also, compared to other sports team mascots and symbols, the names seem derogatory. Most teams are represented by animals, like the Chicago Bears and the Seattle Seahawks, but these teams are represented by actual people. Basically, what the use of these mascots is an ignorant comparison between beasts and humans.
Ms. Maroon, what do you think of this idea?
Everyone looks at the names and logos as such negative, racist actions against the Native Americans, but they aren't. Those names and logos are not referring to random Native Americans in a racist way. They are more honoring the Native Americans' bravery and looking up to them. By using them as a name for a football team, the team is saying that they hope they can be as brave and as strong as the Native Americans were. We are honoring their efforts and, in a way, apologizing for our previous actions. We are only seeing them in a positive light.
Ms. Lane, do you believe that there are different levels of offensiveness in the names?
Of course. Some of the team mascots and names are honorary, as Ms. Maroon suggested. For example, Florida State University honored local tribes by establishing them as their name, the Seminoles. On the other hand, some of the mascots and names used are simply derogatory. Chief Wahoo of the Cleveland Indians is an especially offensive mascot. He has a caricature with unrealistically red skin, eyes the shape of arrowheads, a swollen nose, a huge mouth with a grin full of teeth, and a feather sticking out from behind his head. Clearly there is a difference between the two.
Now let's listen to a clip of the Radnor High School Marching Band, whose mascot is the Raider, playing their rally song Chop. What do you have to say about the songs and chants that go along with the team mascots?
The song bears a strong resemblance to a war cry or war chant. However, it is the actions that are part of the song that are derogatory. Fans chant chop while simultaneously bringing their hand down in a chopping motion, like a tomahawk chop. The action depicts natives as violent and savage and should be considered a racial slur.
Is there anything that either of you would like to add?
We should not try to make our wrongs right by changing our own culture. It does not make sense to try to send a message to the rest of the world that we were wrong in changing the culture of the Native Americans by changing our own culture. The majority of Americans realize that the names are positive and used to refer to the strong aspects of the Native American culture, and therefore we should keep them in place.
Although the majority of Americans may deem these team names and logos to be acceptable, some things are just wrong. If tribes find the names offensive, then they should be considered offensive and changed.
Thanks for listening to today's edition of Top of the Mind. Tune back in tomorrow for more controversial debates.